And we're back, all here with another Hall of Code lesson. Let's dive right in. We're going to be looking at Flexbox, one of the best things ever to come to CSS. This is relatively new. It allows you to easily create one-dimensional rows with columns of content so that you can easily create navigation menus, rows, cards. Before Flexbox, we aligned elements using floats and tables, but we don't really have to do floats and tables anymore because Flexbox has made life much easier for people to use in CSS. All right, let's take a look. We're going to start with a div class of Flex Container. And we'll call this Flex Container, and inside that we'll make a div of item, say item 1, and we'll give it another item, item 2, and item 3. Okay, all right, now we're going to go over to CSS, and we're going to add some style to our item. Okay, so we'll say width 100 pixels, height 100 pixels, and we'll say background color. We'll go 254 DE4. Color, we'll say white, and we'll say margin, and we'll go 10 pixels. All right, so we're going to go above the item, and we're going to add style to Flex Container, and we'll say display flex, and we'll give it a background color of, let's go dark gray. The boxes should be horizontally aligned in a flex row. Now let's get into some alignment properties that are really helpful. The first one we're going to look at is justify content. So we'll go in Flex Container, justify content, and we'll say end. By justifying the content to the end, it pushes everything to the right. Let's change it from end to start. And that pushes everything to the left. We can also say center. And that pushes everything to the center. We can also say space around. And what that does is it takes the remaining space and puts it around all the elements, including the beginning and the end. We can also say space between. This time there is no space at the beginning and end. It just puts it in between the elements. And it doesn't matter how many items you have. Let's go back and add more items to HTML. So we got 3. All right, and we'll just say item 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you should now see that the items are still spaced between each element evenly. Okay, let's go back and delete those items. we'll just have 3 again. Now, what if we wanted to change the direction to align vertically? Let's first add some height to the container. So let's go back to Flex Container. Let's go to Flex Container and add height. And we'll add 400 pixels. The property we use to align the items vertically is called Align Items. So we'll go Align Items and we'll say End. The item should get put at the bottom this time. You can do the same thing for center. Okay, and now the align items are at the center. Now, what if you wanted to align just one of the items? To do that, you would need to say align self. And you would also need to add a pseudo selector nth of type. All right, so we're going to target the third item here. We're going to call this item nth of type. We'll say 1. Okay. We'll say align self. We'll say start. Okay. So the align self, this first item is now at the top. We're going to do another nth of type. And we'll say 2. And we'll say center. 2 is center, and then we'll go 3. And 3 will be the end. You should see that the first item is aligned to the start, the second centered, and the third to the end. Now, what if you wanted to change the direction of the items, making each item stack vertically in a column? You can do that by adding flex direction. Let's first comment out these items. And we're going to go to Flex Container. We're going to get rid of the height. And we'll say flex direction column. Now the column is going to be up and down, as you can see there. If you wanted to align these items horizontally, you would change the align items part. So we'll go align items and we'll say start. And now this puts the items to the left or at the beginning. Now let's go back and add a height of 500 pixels and change the justify content to end. Okay, so we're going to go back to height, take this comment out, and we'll say 500 pixels. Okay, and we'll say justify content. We'll say end. You see it's aligned vertically when you have a column. Let's go ahead now and get rid of everything except display flex and background color. Okay, so we're gonna get rid of all this other stuff here. Okay. Now let's say you wanted to center text within the item. We're gonna go back to item, and after margin, we're gonna say display flex. And then we're gonna say justify content center. And so the items, the actual text gets centered. All right, I'm gonna take this out just so that you can see. Look at the items to the left. I'm gonna add center. Now those items are centered. You could also align items and say center. Now these items are centered vertically in the middle. Let's go back to index and let's add some more. All right, let's add more here. And then we're going to change flex container, and we're going to add something called flex wrap, and we'll say wrap. Now some of your items might have wrap to the next line if it can't fit on the page. Let's go back and delete those items. Let's get rid of flex wrap. Okay. We're going to delete width and put flex spaces in. Okay. We're going to say flex basis 100 pixels. Okay. And then we're going to go nth of type. And we're going to say flex basis 200. I'm going to keep that as a comment. Nth of type 2. And so we'll say flex spaces 200 pixels. You should see now that the second item is now 200 pixels wide. We have another property called flex grow. Flex grow is specified as a single number, like 1, 2, and 3. The default flex grow is 0. So you can think of it as kind of a growth rate. Let's get rid of the flex spaces and add flex grow. So we're going to take basis out and go grow. And this time we'll say 3. Okay. And then we'll go take out the comment. And we'll change flex grow to 1. And we'll say take out this comment. We'll put this at 2. Okay. And then we'll say flex grow, take out this. We'll say flex grow 1. And so now you can see how it is adjusted based on the screen size. So based on the screen size, you can see how this is adjusted. So based on the screen size, you can see how this is adjusted. If I change this to 2, then you see these 2 items are larger when you adjust your screen size. Okay. And so that's pretty much, we can do a lot more with Flex, but we're going to stop right there. We're going to do some projects.